Hello, Mary Mead. So I want to review a book. The book I want to review is Modern Tantra by Donald Michael Kraig. Now, as far as I know, this is Kraig's last book because he passed away in late 2014. And he was my favorite occult author. I know there are a lot of people that didn't like his writings, but I have loved his writing since I read Modern Magic. So yeah, I had to pick this book up. I'm just gonna see it's a big tome-like book, and it do a very good job at introducing Western readers to the art of Tantra. Now, a lot of people have absolutely no idea what Tantra is. They just have this idea that, oh, but it's just about having sex in funny positions. Well, that's a little bit like saying cooking is throwing shit into a pot. Yes, you do that, but there's a little bit more to it. So, let's have a look what's in this book. Bum, bum, bum. Where are the... There we have it. Yes. We have basically about the illustrations, charts, forward by Carl Level and Westchecke, and a preference. Then we have... I'm not going to read absolutely every chapter because it has a pretty good content, table of content, so it goes through a lot of the different things, like we have a position stat and a practice such, and so we are just going to go by the broad categories for the most part. But what we have is myth and mythos, which is very important because it gives you a lot of the basics. 2. Tantric philosophy, also important because it gives you the basics here. Here we get to see that it is a little bit more than just having sex in weird positions. There are 3 gods and goddesses. We have 4, and I am going to butcher these because pronunciation is not my friend. The Mahavidras. 5. The mystical key, part 1, Sri Vidya. 6. The mystical key, part 2, Sri Magic. 7. Tools of Tantra, which shows that it's more than sex. 8. Repeated rituals and celebratory festivals. Because what you have to understand is that Tantra is a spiritual system. Yes, part of that system is sexual practices, but that doesn't mean that the sexual practices is all there is. 9. Special occasion ritual. 10. Tantric astrology for magic. 11. The bodies, nadis, and chakras. So I think this book can be a lot of use, and not just for basically if you are into Tantra itself, but for any kinds of energy healers and such will find things in this book that they can use. You have 12 health and healing, 13 tantric magic, 14 tantric sexuality, and 15 tantric sex rituals. So we have to wait until the last chapters before we get to that part, and I'm happy about that because the West have a tendency to have this idea of Tantra being just this one thing, which is just one tiny little part of the whole. Then you have Appendix 1, a definition of Tantra, you have a glossary, a bibliography, and an index. So, what do I have to say about this book? Well, like with most of Donald Michael Kraig's works, he writes things very well. It's a joy to read it, and he also explains things in a way it's easy to understand. I think that's why so many ceremonial magicians today have gotten their start with his book Modern Magic, because it takes all of these things that Regardi and Crowley and all of them have written, and it sort of presents them in a way that you read it and oh yeah, I get this. This isn't so hard. We can practice this. So he sort of have the tendency to create practitioners rather than just armchair magicians. And you have the same style here. So it's well written, it's easy to understand. Now, if one complaint about the book is that it's so big and heavy. Yes, having it in 2 volumes would have been more expensive, and I understand that that can be a problem. But, I mean, if you, for example, like to read in bed, your arms are gonna get tired pretty quickly, because this is a hefty book. Other than that, and that it has a bit of that Satan's ball sack covering that I am so fond of, I have no complaints about the physical presentation of the book. In fact, it looks quite lovely, with the symbol in the center. The symbol is glossy, while the rest is matte. And the yellow on blue looks very nice. There are illustrations in here. I see here. Illustrations. It's a very nice book. It has loads of information. Loads of them. And more illustrations. There's illustrations all through it, though they are in black and white. Basically, I would say that unless basically Tantra is a thing that you want to... Excuse me, my phone. This always happens while I'm making a video. Yes. Let me just have a look at that. Like I said, unless you want to dedicate your life to Tantra, in which case you should find a teacher and perhaps study in India, I would say that this gives you what you need to be a pretty decent practitioner, or at least get you pretty decently on the way to studying, so that you can be able to separate out the other various books on the market, what are good and what are not. So it's definitely quite useful, and like I said, if you're not interested in becoming a tantric, but rather practice, rather you're interested in energy work in any sort of kind, then this is also a book that you really couldn't go wrong with. And if you're interested in this spirituality, not to practice it because you're interested in different types of spirituality and religions, this might also definitely be a book for you. It's a very, very good book. I have really no complaints. It's very well written, and the Tantra is not something that I know a lot about. So that, of course, there could be mistakes in this book that my untrained eye hasn't caught. So you have to be aware of that. But from what I know, the information is very authentic. There's a lot of it, and it's presented in a very easily readable and easily understandable way. It carries the standard good quality of Donald Michael Kraig. So yeah, it's an awesome book, and I definitely recommend it. And yeah, he does combine it with modern ritual magic and spirituality as well. So he does mix it a little bit, but for the most part, he keeps to the idea of Tantra. I would say that it's an amazing starting book. I would definitely recommend getting this over getting one of those tantric sex books, because those will only discuss the juicy, sexy parts, And while that might be fun, this will give you the philosophy behind that. So yeah, it's one of those books it's really hard to review because I have no complaints. It's an awesome book on the topic. So yeah, that is my review of Modern Tantra by Donald Michael Kraig. It's an awesome book. I give it 9 out of 10. My only complaint is that it's so big and heavy. I wish they had done it in 2 smaller volumes instead of 1 huge one. Because when a book gets big enough to beat to death a grown man with, it gets tiresome to read. You almost have to sit and then bend over it, and then your neck gets tired pretty quickly. But other than that, I have no complaints. This is a wealth of information, and yeah, it should be in your library. I hope you have enjoyed this review. Have a great day, and blessed be.